Well, today the video is about how I write children's stories, why I put them up on my website for free. Children go through a rapid change of comprehension depending upon the stimulation of the adults and how much they get read to. Between the ages of about 4 and 12. Some learn to get to adult level before that. Some start even reading before that, before 4, but on average between 4 to 12. And through that period, it's very rapid change of comprehension. And it's necessary to have graded reading, and graded books are very common in primary schools to get the level, just at the level of the child who's changing their capacity to understand the written word. So on my website I grade the free children's stories that I write. I grade them through 1 to 10, and at the start of the story it gives the grading number. Now looking at my notes here, initially children are read to, and they're read to generally a good night story. Good night is a good way of introducing children to storytelling. And everybody, it says the whole world loves a story. And some of the stories work at 2 levels. Basil Brush was a television program which had humour that the kids used to think was fantastic, but then the adults will be laughing at humour that was way above the children's heads. So it worked at 2 levels. And some of my children's stories work like that. Why does the whole world love a story, and why do all cultures have storytelling? It's because stories entertain. And one of the reasons we read our children's stories is it's a fun thing to do and it's entertaining. Gets us away from that terrible thing called the television, or what I call the great cretinizer. In fact, it was Fred Hollows that called it that in Australia. So, looking at my notes, it is amazing how many adults love children's stories. I love a good children's story, even though I'm an oldie. And what I've done at the very beginning of the graded reading at the one end of the spectrum is to do episodic stories. We've got some there, Peg the Seagull with One Leg, which goes through 7 nights, so it's a week to get to the end. And the reason we do that is the child will get to the point, and I've had children read my book and parents report back that the child's begging to go to bed so that they can get the next episode of Peg the Seagull with One Leg, because they can't understand why this bird only has 1 leg. And in each section it said, well, we'll get to explaining why she's only got 1 leg, but there's more to the story yet. And this is all about engaging the left-hand part of the brain and having the child totally engaged in the story. So episodic storytelling is a part of graded reading. My genre or my style of writing stories, I like to work on more than 1 level. I like to write stories with a moral, so that they, yes, entertain, yes, they are engaging, but they leave some residual idea behind in both the adult reader, if it's being read to a child, or the child reading for themselves. So I utilize stories with a moral, and all of my stories are done that way on gradedreading.com. So I'm going to talk about 2 examples today. And then in the next videos I'm going to talk a little bit more about the other children's stories. But the first one I'm going to mention is one of the better stories, because always when you're writing a number of stories, some are better than others. But Hermie the Crab, for me, different people like different things, but for me Hermie the Crab is a really good story, a very engaging story. And it's about the fact that I can tell you the story because it won't kill it, because you'll be recommending it for your child to read after watching the video. But the story is about a crab who will not listen to his elders. He doesn't live in a family environment, and he's not taking on board any counsel from people older than himself. It's about the fact that hermit crabs have to go through change, changing from shell to shell as they grow, and it's talking about the fact that in life we go through changes. Poor old Hermie leaves it too late and has to take the arduous climb up the rocks and take the big jump to crack his shell to get out because he's stuck. And the dangers between birds to get him while he's on the run between shells. And it's designed to be a gripping, exciting story for children. But it's also designed to make them think about listening to their elders and not leaving change too late. Another story in the list is Jimmy is a Big Boy Now, which is based on the quote, "A man should not think more highly of himself than he ought to think." It's about understanding a life where we are, and Jimmy's decided that he's a little bit older than he thinks he is, and he's starting to take on risks that he shouldn't be doing. He's promised his mum to be home at a certain time, but he's gone up the culvert to catch the bigger eels, and he's more brave than his friend who won't go because it's in the dark. But there's a flash flood and he's forced into the inspection hatch. It's all about the authorities rescuing him, and it's an exciting story which is not that long. These are good night stories, not meant to be taking hours to read, short stories. But it enables the adult to talk to the child about, well, are you going to keep your word? Are you going to listen to your elders? Are you going to not do things that are beyond your own level? How about us talking about these things after the story is read? That's the design of my children's stories. Now, why do I write free stories? Well, I like writing stories. I'm a storyteller, and I like telling stories right across the spectrum. But one of the advantages of putting free children's stories on my website is if the adults read these stories to their children, or the children come back and say, I found these fabulous stories with great morals and I'm liking them, maybe the adult readers will want to look at some of my stories that are, well, for argument's sake, the one that I'm releasing at the moment is Dream Bouncing. It's written with my co-author because I'm dyslexic and I'm a good storyteller but a poor writer. But as a team, we've written a 79,000 word book called Dream Bouncing. And it's designed so that you can't predict where it goes. It gives you just enough ideas to make you think you know where you're going, to find out that you're not going where you're going, to keep you engaged. And it's these videos, it's these stories, it's all of what I'm doing to build trust with you to go and look at the book Dream Bouncing. And for the price of a Starbucks cup of coffee, you get yourself 8 to 10 hours, depending how fast you read, entertainment in a truly wonderful book. Well, I think it is. I'm biased. I wrote it. Well, I'm the storyteller, and Jenny wrote it beautifully. But it's a book that's getting good numbers and good sales, and we're proud of this particular work. Jenny's working on one of my other books on my shelf at the moment as a co-writer to improve on my style of writing, Four Bastards Sons to Iran. We may change the value of that, and you should look out for that one coming soon. So, from gradedreading.com and from Ronald Sharp, we will move to the next video, more about children's stories. Cheers.